My name is Magda. I am the mom of Calypso Murphy. She had hydrocephalus when she was born. She had a shunt placed in her brain the first week of her life. Hydrocephalus is basically when you have two ventricles in your brain. Her right ventricle was not releasing the spinal fluid. We have fluid in our brain that cleans out our brain every so often, and the fluid builds up, and naturally our brain releases the fluid and it gets drained throughout our body. Unfortunately, my daughter did not have a working valve, and she had to have surgery to have a shunt placed for life in her head. When they said due to this, they said there was going to be developmental delays. So she qualified for early intervention right off the bat due to her medical condition. She started early intervention shortly after she came back from the NICU. She was in the NICU for about 2 weeks, a week in with hydrocephalus. Then she had her surgery. She didn't do so good after her surgery, so she had to stay another week in the NICU. When we got released immediately with the early intervention paperwork. So U of Chicago is really great with providing us with the information, which I really wish more hospitals and doctor offices did that. Side note, but anyway, with that in mind, we had everything, all the resources we needed. Before working in EI, I worked as oh my gosh, a director at a daycare. So I've seen EI providers going in and out, and I did not even as a daycare preschool provider, I didn't even know about EI until like I knew there was some sort of program, some sort of support for the kids that need needs. I didn't find out till the NICU at U of Chicago was like, "Hey, did you hear about this program? It's called early intervention." And I did my research and I was like, this has existed my entire life. Like, how did I not even know about this? So thankfully, the NICU, because they told me that they have to present each child from the NICU with early intervention paperwork. It's just crazy because working with kids, I feel like I should have known about this. So as a provider, I make sure I provide the daycares that I service now with pamphlets from the clearinghouse so they can pass along to families because I feel like we should all know about this. So she gets physical therapy once a week. She has a great physical therapist. Her name is Melissa. I just want to give her a shout out from Will County. And she comes in, because she knows she doesn't have occupational therapist and we kind of don't have she's supposed to have DT once a month, but because I'm DT we kind of just omitted that extra therapist. So the physical therapist kind of takes it upon her to focus on the physical therapy, but because she's not really delayed in the physical aspect part, like she's about to walk and she's 14 months, she's also trying to figure out things like problem solving with her. So she will bring the toys that she needs for like fine motor activities or for like cognition building. So she structures her hour therapy sessions, where they're like 50 minutes because she goes and writes her notes afterwards, um, to be more wholesome because then the speech therapist comes and she focuses more on like the nutrition aspect and the actual like words. And that's only once a month. So that occupies her entire hourly session. And I think I do have the benefit because I'm in early intervention. It kind of gives me a better, like a more of a benefit than other families because I already know what to expect. I know what's going on. I have the education behind it to an extent, obviously not as much as PT or OT, but it's easier to collaborate with the therapist when they're there. It's primarily been an in-person OT. We had live video visits for a couple months. We were on the wait list for face-to-face. So when the face-to-face OT came, and I keep kicking myself in the bottom for this, we like our LVV OT was amazing. And we kind of just let her go because we figured like in person. Dad does a lot of the therapies with my daughter because I'm working. So he prefers in person. So we kind of did the switch. She was having a hard time like standing. First, this was months ago. She was like tippy-toeing a lot. So we were gonna do the orthotics. That's when I found out that there's a lot of like instruments and stuff that you can get for your child through early intervention. So that was a plus to learn about from the physical therapy. But because she developed on her own, we didn't really need the orthotics. Then the speech therapy suggested a swallow test too. So there's like all these things that I've never even heard of. Like obviously I've heard of orthotics before, but like a swallow test, I never even knew that existed. So they do try to recommend different things. My service coordinator is the one that does most of the work with providing me with any resources that I need. My service coordinator is also amazing. We got early intervention started. Um, we got physical therapy right off the bat. We got developmental therapy. We had to wait a little while for speech. She does have a speech therapist now. Unfortunately, it's been over a year now, and we're still on the wait list for occupational therapy. And she has very, very bad regulation issues. She's 14 months and she gets so dysregulated. She acts like she's two. I'm not joking. And it's very, very detrimental to get an OT on her case. We had one that was virtual for a little bit, and then we found an in-person. The in-person came for 3 sessions, I want to say, and then just dropped her like cold turkey. Not a real reason why. She said it was something personal, and that's the last that we heard. So then Calypso went back on the wait list, and she's been back on the wait list for months again. So out of the whole 14 months of her life, she had OT for about a month, and we're still waiting. So the biggest problem to me is obviously the services. We don't have enough providers, and the needs lists are very, very long. And it's very unfortunate because the first 3 years of a child's life is crucial. And a lot of synapses are formed in the first 3 years. So if they don't get the help and the support that they need, it gets harder to basically rewire their habits and such. It would really benefit families, especially families in need, for providers to get compensated more, to have more benefits. So there would be more providers willing to service, and then the needs list wouldn't be so long. In addition to that, communication could be a little bit better. I'm from Will County, and I know that in Will County, we do things differently than they do things in DuPage County or Cook County. And it's just unfortunate because when you move, that's another hurdle you have to tackle. And that's also time lost from getting the support that you need from your child. I wish I knew that the service coordinator had a lot more power than she really like. I did not know that the service coordinator could honestly get you, like stated earlier, like different not supports, but like I was mentioning before with the orthotics or when they have like the vests for the kids or the weighted blankets and stuff like that. I never knew that EI was in cahoots to getting these kind of things for the children until I was in early intervention myself. I also didn't know that there was a sort of service that comes to your house and does therapy. I always thought that it'd be something like ABA where you have to go to a center and kind of like have your kid there. Um, and then just the flexibility. Like the providers are very flexible. If you can't meet in person one day because you're sick, but you still want a session, you can jump on and do an LVV and it's completely okay. Just don't hesitate to reach out to your providers connections, to the child family connections, the CFCs. Don't hesitate to ask your service coordinator questions. No question is a stupid question. Like, I cannot stress that enough. You can even, I don't know, I don't even know. There is no such thing as a stupid question. You just don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to speak up. And please advocate on behalf of your child. No one's going to advocate on behalf of them as their caregiver will.